We play and call it work.
I'm in.
And we're going to be moderating this thing, and we're from the podcast Live After the Cover Stage. And if anybody can't hear us when we're talking, I guess let us know, but it is a small room. And so we're going to be moderating this business, and first what I decided we should do is, in case no one knows who everybody is, we can just go down the road here, and if you guys can introduce yourself shortly, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. So go ahead.
My name is Adam, frequently known as Uncle Adam, and I have a YouTube channel called Tabletop Minions, and I make videos aimed towards getting people, specifically new people, into the wargaming hobby. I talk about tutorials, and I talk about philosophy of wargaming to some degree, and inspirational stuff. And I do live shows every other Sunday called the Every Other Sunday Show, strange enough.
Okay, thank you.
Skip my
I'm Miranda. I run the channel Wargamer Girl, focusing on mostly War Machine battle reports. It's been expanding a little bit, mostly more interested now in Company of Iron and some space hulking. But the whole idea is that my battle reports are designed to have the cinematic feel, so I push that more so. And I also run the Tabletop Retreat Valhalla.
Oh, that's who runs you.
That's me.
Even I caught myself.
So we got them tickets, all right.
My name is Carl Tuttle. I run a 40K podcast called The Independent Characters. I've run it for about 7 years or so. Took a break for about a year, a couple years back. Our podcast focuses around playing the game in a variety of different ways, not just tournament, not just narrative, but all the ways that the game offers. We also focus on a very positive message and a very positive approach to the game. I often say if you're looking for rants and hate, you're listening to the wrong show. Go listen to something else. There's plenty of that out there. But yeah, that's me.
MiniWargamer Dave from MiniWarGaming.com. I represent a team of YouTubers that creates video battle reports, mostly focusing on Warhammer 40K, a little bit of 30K, Age of Sigmar, and Warhammer Fantasy. We also do a little bit of other games as well, other tabletop miniature war games, as per the advertising program that we now have. And we also do painting tutorials. Our business is based off of a membership subscription called the MiniWarGaming Vault, and it is because of the viewers that we exist and are alive. And we've been around for about 10 years, and started with myself and my business partner, Matthew Glanfield, who's not here right now. Literally started in his basement making terrain tutorials, and we thought our business was going to be selling flock. Yeah, we've heard that many a time.
So I'm Jonathan with FNP Wargamers. Me and my team here, we run FNP Wargamers on YouTube. It's a battle report channel. We do tutorials. We also do a lot of battle reports focused on Warhammer 40K. We just started 2 new segments. We have Mortal Wounds, which is a hardcore tournament type list that you would probably see. We even time it. It's hard to do when you film it, but we actually time it. So you can actually see what happens in that time frame, what would actually happen in a tournament. Because you don't have 4 hours or 5 hours to play a whole game to actually see what happens. And then we also do Lost in the Warp, which is like a really fun, just like relax. You bring things that you never see, like Chosen or Possessed, things that aren't of optimum points that, hey, you still want to see what they do on the battlefield and stuff like that. So we have a lot of fun with it. We also do a live show on Tuesdays now to get everybody involved and on YouTube to communicate with us, and it started blowing up. People have conversations and stuff. So we've been doing this for 3 years.
I'm Chris Morgan, sometimes known as Captain Morgan. I am a host of the Forge Narrative podcast, which I run with Paul Murphy, and we have a rotating cast right now with Ricky Yang and Justin True. We focus a lot on the competitive aspect of 40K, more on the side of send us your list, what do you like to play, how can we help you do the best with what you like. We also do a lot of interviews with Black Library authors, because the name isn't just tongue-in-cheek. We do some YouTube content, and we review a lot of the products. We like to keep in pace with how the tournament scene is going and how the game is evolving. And we also like to run events. I run several events in Utah. Paul Murphy helps run with the Warzone Atlanta crew, the Warzone Atlanta event, which is every year in Atlanta. So we do a whole bunch of different things focusing on mostly 40K, but also some 30K and Age of Sigmar.
My name is TJ Collier. I am part of FNP Wargamers, and Jonathan asked me one day at the game store, was like, hey, you want to film a battle report? And then so I got joined into this, and the only reason why I do this is because I love the hobby in general. So I like to do, I have the My Own segment where I kind of do product reviews. I try to do as many paint tutorials as I can and stuff on my channel, but other than that, I just do it because I love the hobby, and I love to pass on the knowledge I have to anyone who wants to watch stuff.
I'm Ben. I'm no longer the newest member to FNP, but I am the member that is newest to the game. I was in the Air Force with Jonathan back in the day, and he tried to convince me to play back then. I said no. I was going to study Magic because it was way cooler. But eventually, I came to my senses. I started playing Wargammer. I absolutely love the game. I love the hobby. I love everything about it. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and keep up with these guys because they smoke me every day.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. So one thing we do want to do so we can steer what we're doing here is who in the audience right now has questions locked and loaded and are ready to ask these people? Okay, cool. That's good. Okay, so what we want to do now, just some like preliminary questions. And a couple people mentioned it. Not everybody did. But it's, why did you get started in this thing, in this craziness? And why did you choose the form that you chose? Because we have podcasters here, we have video people here. So how did you make the decision on which medium you're going to be using? Yeah, it's fine. Actually, you know, we can go the other way if you want this time. Just switch it up. Adam, you're going to talk last. But yeah, for you guys, FNP guys, like, so I think you said that what started this business for you? And how did you choose YouTube videos?
So I chose YouTube because I actually, this guy right here, to be honest, I used to watch MiniWarGamers, and I watched Dave a lot, and I was just, even my wife would, you should keep saying things that Dave would say or whatever, and I'm like, she's like, what does that mean? Like, she would say Melta, and she would say terrain, and she's like, you know, and it was just like, you know, one day I was like, man, I want to do this. This seems fun. Guys have a good time. And so Black Friday one day, bought a cheap camera that filmed 1080p, and then just went to it. Went to my game store, saw TJ, was like, I want to try to do this thing and film it. And we actually look back some of the old videos, and it's like, man, yeah, it's terrible. Like, we've grown up, you know, we realized our angles, how close to keep a camera, because the first one was like the camera's right here, and my face was like that big on the screen. I was like, man, this is doing me no favors. And so, yeah, you just gotta go, if you want to do it, just do it. Don't make excuses, because you're going to take your time and waste your time. And you're like, oh, well, someone else is already doing it. It's fine. If you love it, you're adding to everybody's content. You're adding to our hobby. You're growing our hobby and showing your little piece of love and your little island of love to everybody else. So that's why I started.
I want to go to that island.
It's a good island.
Now, Dave, you said that it started out for terrain tutorials. So it was just a natural progression to just make more videos.
So okay, when before MiniWarGaming, I was a landscaper. I had my own landscaping business, and Matt was an internet marketer. And I hated landscaping so much. I hated it. My dad's a bricklayer, and he has like a broken body. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be crippled. Yeah. Right? So I'm like, oh, I want to do something. So I approached Matt. We're childhood friends. I've known him since I was 5. He gave me a dead frog one time. Like, he's like, but like, I'm like, hey, let's do a business together. And he's like, okay, why don't we do this? And so he suggested that we do miniature tabletop wargaming. And we actually got into it because he went into a Games Workshop store and he saw Warhammer 40K models. He saw Sisters of Battle. He's like, nope. And he walks out. And then someone's like, hey, do you like Lord of the Rings? And he's like, yes, I do actually. And so he bought like $500 worth of Lord of the Rings stuff. And he's like, okay, now I'm going to play this with somebody. And he calls me up, hey, Dave, do you want to play Lord of the Rings with me? Like, yes, I do. I don't know what it is, but I want to play it. And so that's how we started out with that. And we started making terrain tutorial videos. And he didn't want to be in videos at first because he already had an online presence. He was an internet marketer. So in case it wasn't successful, he didn't want to be associated with something that failed. So like the first 8 months was just me making videos, and I was just making terrain tutorials because I didn't know how to do anything else. Like, I didn't know how to play the game. I didn't play 40K for the first year. I just played Lord of the Rings, right? So it was like the natural progression was making terrain tutorials. And he saw how much fun I was having, and he's like, okay, well, maybe I can make some videos too. So then we both started making videos and making video battle reports. And it was video because, it's actually because he bought a camera for his other business. And at the time it was, I don't know, it was like $1,000 or something, right? And it was like, man, it was a really expensive purchase. We've got to use this camera to justify buying the camera. And so we just started we actually converted our terrain tutorial articles into video form. And there's no shelf life on those, really. You can just watch them over and over. So they were getting some good traction at the time, relatively, right? They were getting hundreds of views. And we just kind of went from there. We went into battle reports, and we started playing 40K. And it took a long time. We're like, we don't want to play 40K. But everyone's playing it. We don't want to play it. We just want to play Lord of the Rings. That's all we want. Why do people like, how come White Dwarf is 99% 40K? Where's the Lord of the Rings love? And so eventually we started playing 40K, and everyone else was collecting every other army in our club at the time, and no one else was collecting Chaos. And so I saw a model. Sorry, I'm taking up way too much time. I saw a 40K Chaos model, and I just fell in love with it instantly. I'm like, okay, that speaks to me, so that's what I'm going to do.
Was he Captain Swallow?
He was in that set, yes. Yeah. He was, yeah. And then we just started with the two of us, and then we slowly added to our team, one person at a time, making more videos with us. And the rest is history, I suppose. That's how we started. Terrain tutorials, me hating landscaping.
We're going to go to Chris and skip them.
Yeah.
Somehow I ended up in the middle of them. So I've totally broken the cycle.
Well, no, it's Jonathan's fault, because he spoke up first.
Yeah.
It's true.
As far as how I got started first writing articles. I had a relationship with Paul, who was already doing Forge Narrative at the time, because we're both Blood Angels fans. I'm a bigger Blood Angels fan than Paul, no matter what he says. But,
I can actually, I can attest to that.
yeah.
You're pretty solid in that Blood Angel.
But there was an audio drama that had come out that Paul hadn't heard about yet. He's like, hey, can you tell me about it? I was like, do you want me to just write you something up? Because I love to write. I'm very passionate about the material. So I wrote up just a spoiler-free review for him, kind of article style, and sent it to him. He was like, hey, this is actually really good. So they put it up on a couple of blogs, and that's how I got started. Then I started managing a Facebook page, which was an adventure, still is an adventure. And then at one point, there was a night where people didn't show up to record the show, and Paul sends me a message. He's like, hey, I've got nobody in free. I said, sure. And I basically have showed up and have an internet presence because I'm punctual. But that's kind of how I got started. And I still do a lot of writing. I did a Dreadnought article for GW just this last month. And it was very interesting to me to see like just the progression from writing about something that you love, and then now, you know, there's people who are making the game that are interested in what I have to say about it. And that was a pretty fantastic moment for me. I will never forget though, that first short story was written by Andy Smiley. You guys may have seen him here. He was a very strong Scottish person who loves knives. And he found out that I had written an article about that story, and he pulls it out while I'm sitting there and reads it. With me sitting there just like, maybe a Scottish person, he loves knives, and he's, you know, I hope he likes it, you know. But it held up, and it's been an amazing ride since then. I still write a lot. We do a lot of the content for the podcast, and we did that originally just because it was the easiest way to get a bunch of guys together and talking. Now, we didn't need cameras, especially when people are in different states. Because I'm in Utah, Paul's in Atlanta, Georgia, and Justin Troop's in Virginia, so we can't like sit in front of a camera together and have like a roundtable discussion about things. It just made sense to talk over Skype and hope that the internet is nice and records clean audio. And that's more or less how I got started.
So the podcast was thrust upon you, but Carl chose the podcast.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So I've always been involved in role-playing games, that kind of thing, since 1977. Super excited about Warhammer 40K we picked up because basically everybody's having kids and getting older and couldn't get the group together, so if I could just get one other person, that would be great. Eventually a friend had moved to the area, 40K Radio, I'm going to be real blunt, 40K Radio under Spencer at the time. I think Spencer is a fantastically talented individual. I think he could be in radio, but the podcast was clearly on the decline in terms of quality. I'll be blunt. When you're just reading a codex to the microphone, something's gone horribly wrong. And so,
Thank you for the segment idea.
my buddy Jeff and I said, hey, you know, are you interested? Jeff called me. Is he interested in starting a podcast? I said, I was going to talk to you about that. So we kind of figured out what do we want to do? Where do we place ourselves? Neither of us are great tournament players. And so we really came up with this, you know, let's have the community feel like a part of our gaming group, because we had a large gaming group. And I'm a very positive-minded, positive individual, and so that started coming through. I think we were one of the first groups to really cover Forge World material, like really in depth, and that kind of drew the eye of Forge World at that time. And I got an email from Alan Bly at one point who said, hey, you know, I'm the writer of this, and I called Jeff and I said, you're not gonna believe who just sent us an email. It's Alan Bly, and he wants to know if we have any questions. And the next thing I know, I get an email from another guy named Ed Brown, who worked customer support there, and said, Alan called us and says we're supposed to send you preview materials. And, Jeff, you're not going to believe who just called us again. So things kind of took off from there. And I think the important thing for us was right time. You know, 40K Radio had kind of imploded at that point in its natural form. It's gone through several iterations since then. It kind of imploded at that point. And in my cockiness, I thought we could do that, and we could do that better. Much like our first 10 episodes, I listened like, oh God, what was going on? And then, you know, we found an audience that didn't want to rant about things and didn't want to hate. And the internet is so full of that. And every time I go to a video game forum, I see, oh yeah, this is what hatred looks like. And if you think it's bad in the 40K world, and you go look at an internet forum, you're like, oh yeah. And that has kind of built on itself. And I think that people who love this game, as I do, as you do, are looking for people to share that love with. And if you hate something that much, well, do something that you like, you know, don't do this. But I think GW's in a great place right now. It's helped all of us, I think, be in a really great place as well, for those of us who are doing 40K War Machine.
I mean, whatever, that's cool.
You guys are already doing stuff with your and so I mean, I think it's a great time. I really liked your comment about just do it, and it provides more content. You know, the only caveat I'd add to that is do it, but find your own voice, like find your own angle, and find something that makes you different from the rest of the people, so that you attract your crowd. So that's it.
Thank you for being brief.
That's brief for me. Maybe you don't know, my show runs 3 to 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, so I kind of had a weak start into Mark 1 and didn't really care for it so much and fell out of the game for a while. Learned a little bit of 40K 5th edition with my Sisters of Battle and kind of fell out of that. So I was like, and happened to find I was coming back into Mark 2 about a year or so after it launched, a while back. And so I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to get back into playing. Just things in my life had gotten easier to make time for that. And so one of the things I was doing was looking up kind of how to play it again, and I found MiniWarGaming and a few other people actually, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. And as a side note, I'm kind of like I am a film enthusiast. I love the idea of telling stories and making cinematic things, and then I just don't really have enough friends to do that with. But Wargaming actually is a really nice community. And so when I was getting back into that, I saw again MiniWargaming stuff, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I could actually like do everything I want to do cinematically in this form too. And so I kind of went that way. And I'm a little bit more of a perfectionist, and so my battle reports took a little bit more time. We were adding animations and all this sort of thing, so we went kind of crazy. But I really just like the idea of being able to make wargaming look fun to outsiders the same way it does us. And yeah, and
That's interesting.
one of my favorite comments on the channel was being accused of making the game look more fun than it was. So I was like, okay, right?
That's really interesting. If I can just throw an anecdote in. It was interesting, last year at Adepticon, late at night, there were some guys walking around. I don't know if you saw this. There were these guys walking around. They were there for some other convention. And they saw all these people playing war games, and they were making fun of them initially.
Oh, the biker guys!
Yes.
Like these guys
That was a
put
great
And then by the
video.
time they got to the end of walking around, they were like, holy crap, like this is really cool. It was really funny to see their whole attitude
Because they put it up on
change.
YouTube. Like,
Yeah,
the guy
yeah,
was
yeah,
walking
yeah.
around filming it. They were there for like some sort of motorcycle thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, what is going on? And they were like, and you could watch the video, and over the course of the video, they were like,
You hear their tone change.
yeah, totally. And it was really interesting.
My whole thing was, God, I wish they had been there when the retailer area was open.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would have blown
Yeah,
their
it was
mind.
later in the evening.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But-
Sorry.
Yeah, so like, just finishing off though, like with the battle reports, kind of the way they developed, I like pushing the cinematic element of it because it was scripted. I could kind of check my rules stuff and fight with the internet comments about what the rules decisions were made. And also, I kept it very clean, and that was sort of a passive note. But I was really happy to hear feedback from people that said like their kids could watch it. And since then, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep it clean then, because I actually really like that because it helps develop the future audience. So that was my much more brief summary.
Nice job.
I've been a wargamer on and off since the early 90s. Started with like Spacewalk and stuff. And so I was starting to watch YouTube videos about different wargaming things as I was getting back into building terrain and building my own models. But I wasn't playing 40K yet. But I was watching a lot of footage from Beast of War. And this was like 2010. They posted a video. They just launched their website, and they also had, the video was like, more information about our beta website and Gen Con. And I, my day job, I'm a web designer and a mobile designer, so I was interested in that portion of it, but then I'm like, oh, I'm going to Gen Con. This was like in July 2010. And so at the very end of the video, they're like, oh yeah, so if anyone's going to Gen Con, let us know in the comments below. And that was about it. So I said, yeah, I'm going to Gen Con. I've been going to Gen Con since 92 or 93 or whatever. I rarely miss, and blah, blah, blah. And they went to bed, and there's 6 hours ahead. The next morning I wake up and I've got an email from them, and they're like, hey, do you have a camera that can shoot HD, and do you have a microphone, and would you like to talk to these people and these people and these people? And so I was like, okay. So I did send them they wanted me to send them a short recording so that they could tell that I could actually speak and had a head and a face and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, because this is not going for everybody. So anyway, I did that, and then I went to Indianapolis, and I did a bunch of interviews, did stuff like that, and I worked for them on the side. It was not my full-time job, but I worked for them for 3 years. And then about 2013, I was like, I want to start doing my own stuff. I wanted 2 things. I wanted an outlet. I wanted to teach myself video production, so I thought you should apply that to a hobby because then you're more likely to actually do the thing that you're trying to learn because you're applying it to the hobby you already enjoy. The other thing was I was working a job where it was a creative role as a web designer, but at the end of the day, if the people who send the checks say that thing should be red, it's going to be red whether I think it should be blue or not. And I wanted something that was a creative outlet that could be seen worldwide potentially that I had total control over. And so I just wanted to go in that direction, so I started making videos. And I made them all over the place, kind of, and here and there, and 2 weeks in between, 5 weeks in between, 4 weeks in between. And then about 2015, I started getting more serious and started the every Friday thing. And I also switched focus a bit and started pointing towards, or started talking about basically getting new people into the hobby. And that's really become more the mission of the channel, is I'm trying to teach people that it is not as daunting as it seems. Because, you know, you buy a video game, you go home, you put it in the video game machine, and then you sit on the couch and play video game. When you want to do what we do, well, first you gotta buy it, then you gotta cut all the pieces apart, you gotta glue it, you gotta file it, you gotta prime it, and all that, and a lot of people just go, but it's not as daunting as it seems, and that's the kind of thing I try to talk about now, so. And that's where I've got at. It's been 5 years since I started the channel, coming up in March, and I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I just noticed recently that I have more subscribers than used to work. So,
Nice.
So yeah,
Congratulations.
that's been working out. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it got me my day job, frankly. I work for a small company. We make apps, and we make an app called Game For, which is for tabletop gamers. And one of the reasons I got hired is because of my YouTube channel and my make videos and the content also designer. So that's it.
Thank you. At this point, do people have questions that they want to start saying? We got one, we got two, we have more, we have three at least. We got three, what about four? Four. Okay, go ahead. Start in the back, and the first one, if you go ahead and say clearly for us.
Clearly? Clearly, what are you doing here? No, with the exception of you, Dave. That sounded really bad, and I didn't.
That will be a positive thing, I'm sure.
I will clarify. You make this media presentation stuff your business. This is your livelihood. Do any of the rest of you actually have a thought of making this your livelihood at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about necessarily full time, but it's definitely my side hustle. I mean, I have to have an accountant now, you know, and to be involved, just because taxes are hard and I'm dumb, but I mean, the fact is that like it does now between the advertising revenue from YouTube and
Dude, you make like apps for a living. You're not dumb.
designer, I do.
Dave, you're not familiar with
Well,
the
anyway, yeah, but nonetheless, so Patreon and the advertising revenue and other kind of little things here and there, and like opening up a little t-shirt store and that kind of stuff. The trick is, and this is free advice, which is always awesome. You build the audience first, and then try to figure out what you can, if you want to, what to do to monetize it. What, you know, I see channels all the time that are like, hey, we just started it. Here's our Patreon, and you're like, but nobody knows who you are yet. That's not going to work. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's.
Do you want to exchange banners?
Right. We're old.
Listen, I know your mom listens to the show.
And so, yeah, you just, I mean, you know, you don't necessarily start that way. Like, I think it's probably a bad idea to try to start a podcast, a YouTube channel, a blog, or whatever. Like, this is going to be a business. But if you do it and you really are consistent with it, it can.
No,
So-
I'm definitely moving toward that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I definitely am moving toward that. I mean, Go Hollow is one step of that. We've done some Kickstarters in the past, so I think this year it doesn't look like as much happens on my channel, but there's like a massive amount of skating behind the scenes. Like, how can I make this more what I do? Because I like it a lot better than what I actually do. So yeah, I definitely.
For me, no. I work in Silicon Valley. I work in the tech sector. I make way too much money for this to be and to a degree, you know, it's interesting you brought up the web design thing, because I used to do web design for fun, and then I turned it into a business friend, and I started a business, and then it sucked. Like,
Yeah, it can. Sure.
And then it was not
Because
fun.
that guy says it's got to be blue, and you think it's got to be red.
Yeah,
That guy
it makes
writes
the
checks.
logo bigger, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I want to keep it my hobby, so I continue to love it. And for me, if it becomes a job, then it's a job, and I throw everything into that. And when other podcasts are making denominations called Carl's out of the money I spend at Forge World.
Sorry.
Which we've determined is about $500.
Yeah, we spent about half a Carl each today.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it's not feasible for me with a family, and living in Silicon Valley is just way too expensive. So.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I should answer, but
You already answered this by succeeding.
okay. Well, it's interesting because when we first started, like honestly, it took like 3 years before could pull any money, and even at that, it was like not much. It was like I still had to do landscaping, and I hated it. And there was a number of times that, because Matt's very logical, right? So he's like, Dave, we're not making money. We shouldn't do this, right? And being more of the emotional guy and hating landscaping, like I'd rather do this and not make money than do landscaping. So that's kind of what happened. It's just like, well, okay, we'll do it a little longer, and then we'll just see what happens. So that happened a number of times.
Do you think it would have happened without your partnership with Matt?
Definitely not. No, either one of us. Like
Yeah.
if it was just me doing it, no way. If it was just him doing it, no, he would have stopped when it was after like a year of not making money, right? So it's just like we definitely needed each other to make it successful. And ironically, and people ask us, okay, so you guys are a partnership. You're a successful partnership. Would you recommend that I go into a partnership with anyone? And we both actually have the same answer, which is no. Don't go into a partnership with them. Like we lucked out. We happen to work with each other. We're the yin and yang. We care about different things. Therefore, we don't compete.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And I recognize that as we're fortunate in that. That doesn't happen every day.
We had the same thing with my original partner, Jeff. And when he left, I was not interested in getting into like a band situation where I brought in new people that were partners. I said, listen, this is my show. You guys can join. That's great. But I recognize that partnership that you and Matt have is so close, and you don't always get that. It's a tough. You're lucky to have had that.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I trust Matt with my life. Man, I'm getting emotional. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, it got all serious there. But I'm honest, honestly. So definitely very rare that happens. And you know, there's a recipe for success, and you know, it's a combination of, I don't know. Stars aligning, work really hard for a really long time, don't give up. It's all like doesn't mean anything. It's just we were hard working patients, yes, but the thing is, other people are working hard and they're really patient, and it doesn't happen. So like, so how?
Sometimes it's just play falls.
Sometimes when you throw glitter, it lands on your phone and not on this card.
What does that even mean? What are you saying?
It lands where it wants to land. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like it's like there's no control over the forces of chaos.
Like we used to tear up that magic card.
What about you have a few here?
Yeah. So, what I would say is don't start a channel because you're like, oh, I'm going to start a channel and make money. We have literally just hemorrhaged money for the channel. If I was paying myself my hourly wage, because I do IT for NASA, and if I was doing my hourly wage, I couldn't afford me. So just how long it takes to edit a video, you really just have to love doing it. And like you said, you know, you can't just open up your channel and be like, here's our Patreon. You know, we're pushing small subscribers. We're like minor leagues to these big leaguers, and you know, we're pushing like 2,400 subscribers right now. And we're aiming for that 10,000 because, you know, I talked to GW and all that stuff, and really good, but like, hey, come talk to us when you're at 10K. So that's our threshold that we're pushing. But like I said, we just started getting Patreon supporters. It took 3 years just to get 2,400 subscribers because, like you said, it was a recipe to success, and I was a really bad cook. So it was going skyrocket. I was like, wow, I think it's going good. But then life happened, and we weren't on a schedule. You know, we just started, you know, a couple months ago, just getting on a Tuesday, Friday schedule where people knew when to watch us. It wasn't just like randomly coming up unless they were subscribed. And, you know, it's just, you can't want to go in there and be like, I'm going to make money. As you heard from these guys, it just happened that way. It just happened. They did what they love. It built up, and they made money. Except Dave. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you just gotta love what you're doing. You know, just don't expect to be making any money for it.
All right.
I just want to add on for the FNP stuff. For me, like I said, I got 2 daughters. I do this because it's my hobby and I love it, and it gets me out of the house for two weekends, 2 days on the weekend, where I can actually go and play wargaming. And I may be doing work and I may be filming it, but I still love doing it. And so I think if you keep that passion behind it, you're good to go.
And I think that comes through too,
Yeah.
right? If you're excited about something, or you're passionate about something, whether it's an audio or video medium, people will hear it on the other side. If you're just connecting the dots and doing the numbers, it's really
You're
obvious.
absolutely correct, because it's all about transparency. Because if you don't want to be there, like, this guy, he hates his life, don't watch him.
Clearly,
Yeah, it's true.
Unless you're into that sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
there's probably an audience for that too.
No, I do think the audience can subconsciously or however tell if we're being honest or not.
No. That camera, it tells when you're being salty. It
Oh, yeah.
knows. It tells all your secrets. It knows what you're doing. So when you're behind it, it took me a lot of soul searching to be like, because when you're gaming, right, and you're losing hard because your dice just betray you, and you're like, oh, that's so good, and you're picking up dice, and we finally got to the point where instead of it coming through the camera, we're like, click. Whoa! Why is this happening to me? Click. I got 2 out of the 10 hits. Yes. You know, so some tricks behind the camera, but you know, you just gotta come through as happy, even though if you're getting stomped into the ground, that camera knows secrets.
Well, as a guy who lives by a lake that's pretty much made of salt, I feel your pain there just a little bit.
That's clever.
It is.
Yeah,
It's good.
He's good.
For Force Narrative, we've made a conscious decision that we aren't really doing this for the money. That we want to be able to have. We don't want our lifestyles to depend on what we do, but we do want to make sure that the quality matches the professionalism we would expect from any show that we enjoy. And we actually get requests from people like, hey, why don't you do a Patreon? Here, I want to support you. I want to do this, and so. We'll do things like we'll sell T-shirts to cover our website costs, and we'll throw little things like this. For people that have been supporting us for a long time, when they would buy one of our shirts, we throw one of these in, so that it's like, hey, you've been a long time supporter, we appreciate you. But we're not really in the business of doing this for a living because, again, we don't want it to turn into work. Eventually, my career path, I would love to see my technical writing come full circle into a full game development writing. That would be awesome. But I plan on mucking through a bunch of engineering tech writing jobs and stuff before then, getting to the point where I'm comfortable enough that I know that if I pursue my goals, that I still have the career that I can fall back on. But I just love doing it, and I'm very passionate about my own faction. It's gotten me a lot of crap and also a lot of love, and it's very fun to interact with people. And I love being able to come to places like this and walk around an audience, as a head judge at the Las Vegas Open, and have people stop and be like, hey, I recognize your voice. I really like what you said about this. Like, that was really cool. I really like it, and feeling like a part of a larger community. Oftentimes I feel like I'm just one of the guys, and I don't want to lose that.
I think I might actually be the only one who's going to go a different route. I would love for this to be my job. I would love to get paid to make terrain and do videos and just play with models all freaking day. I finally just no.
He needs a landscape right here.
So I got out of the Air Force and I was like, cool, what am I going to do? And I ended up doing landscaping. And it's
I know, right? Ah!
So I was in Houston and I started doing IT, and it's great, and I'm finally making decent money, and I'm kind of in the rat race, and I'm always kind of like, rat race, but I like it. I really like fixing stuff. I like doing IT. I like learning every day. But at the same time, I would give that up for the right lifestyle. I would totally give that up to do something. But if I could do something that I truly loved all day long, every day.
You won't work a day in your life?
There you go. Like, I mean, yeah, it might turn into work, and yeah, it would probably be really stressful, but at the same time, being my own boss, you know, owning a game store, which I've been seriously looking into, and people always say the same thing.
That's quirk. It's a better gauge.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I can. What if I can? What if I can make a good game still? What if I can do stuff that other people aren't doing? What if I really hard charge it and I make this great franchise, and I can do something cool? Then, absolutely, I would love for that to be my life.
Well, that was, that was an excellent question. You know why I knew it was an excellent question? Because I crossed it off my list. But you said it better. There was another hand. Saw 4 hands on there. Yeah, go.
This question actually kind of touches upon that previous question. I'm curious as to your guys' involvement and whether or not this is work or not for you guys, how that's actually affected and changed the hobby for you. Like being part of the community, being kind of more recognizable. How has that affected playing the games for you guys?
Internet comments are super judgy. So
Everyone has something on the internet.
I am familiar.
So you get a little bit thicker skinned, and to the point where even if you mess something up in a game, you're like, whatever. You kind of probably have to temper yourself a bit even in doing that. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Charles Foster. I don't know, but there was a guy who was on a podcast who used to work for Privateer, and he was talking about the difference between external motivation and internal motivation. Generally, us as hobbyists are internally motivated to play these games because they're just fun to us, and they're how we hang out with our friends and how we spend our time. External motivation, obviously, is F, go to job and get a paycheck and pay my bills. And so it will move that way as you're kind of feeding into your channel just naturally. And so you've got to kind of make sure you're always stepping back and looking at the big picture and saying, well, this is what I want to do. You've got to constantly reevaluate to make sure that you're not lying or pushing yourself in a direction that you find out you don't really like anymore, and just be willing to adapt and take breaks if you need, because burnout is really hard to recover from.
Yeah, right around Christmas time, I didn't do any painting, and like the channel has made it so that my hobby is a lot more important to me, and I've kind of learned things about it. I've learned that painting the building is very meditative, at least for me. It's something I really look forward to. I go down to the basement, I put on some headphones, and I listen to an audiobook or a podcast or whatever, and I sit and I work and I paint and all that kind of stuff. And so doing it more because of the channel and doing it more because I'm trying to teach myself new things and learn new things and all that stuff, it's just raised my output, and it's also raised my ability, my speed. And so for me, it's actually kind of really helped my hobby. There used to be times where I'd be like, 2 months and I wouldn't paint or build anything. I'd get like some video games, Jones going or something like that or whatever. And now, my video games are pretty dusty. And but like I said, like right around Christmas, like with everything going on and everything, I sort of like fell out of hobby a bit. I was still making my videos, but now it is a situation where it's gotten back into a lot more building, a lot more painting, and yeah, I mean for me it drives me more to do the hobby stuff because it's not two hobbies that are sort of like.
For me, it ebbs and flows, right? There's times where I'm super productive, and times like recently where I'm just not very productive at all. There are times where I will play the game more because of the podcast, because I gotta get some content for the podcast. I gotta talk about what I played. I have to validate myself on the show by saying I played this game, right? And then there's times where I'm just, I'm burned out, or I'm tired, or I need a break, and it's all a balance. I'm very fortunate. My wife is super supportive of this, and it takes a lot of time. She's standing at the back of the room right now, and she doesn't want anybody to look at her. But she that's her. She's incredibly supportive, and honestly is, all my miniatures are sitting in 8 IKEA cases in our living room. And I was like, are you sure you want these in the living room? She's like, it's such a big part of our life. Why not? You know, I'm like, oh, okay, you know. So it's had benefits and drawbacks. The biggest benefit, I will say, and John Campos here likes to tease me about being internet famous, and I always say I'm not. I'm well recognized in a very small community of people, but the reality is I've made more friends as a result of doing this podcast, as a result of being involved in this game. Everybody sitting on this panel, I haven't met some of you before, but now I'm like, oh, I want to talk to him about this, or him about that, or her about Valhalla, or, you know, and it's expanded. Chris down here flew out and stayed at my house, and well, near my house, and got to ride around in my car, and you know, and
It's a Porsche.
Again, why is doing a podcast not my job? But
I thought you'd go into Uber, honestly.
but it's really been the friendships I've made and developed over time. Ed and Blake, I mean, I've met these guys through the podcast. Adam and I have been talking about maybe we should do something at Adepticon. Most of the people here this weekend I've met through the podcast, which is tremendously exciting to me. So.
Carl, do you remember early on when you had dinner with us?
Yeah.
And
At Flame Jumper.
And someone said to you, we love you. You can't stop now, Carl.
Oh yeah, so we had been having a discussion about I was spending too much time doing the podcast, and Shell was like, "You're spending too much time doing this." And I said, "You know what? I'll quit." And I didn't mean it like, "Fine, I'll quit." I meant, "You are more important. My family is more important to me than this. I'll quit, no problem." And this was, we were in Southern California, and then we were driving up, and we met these guys and Josh at the time for dinner, because we had plans as we were coming up, and then she saw how much interaction and how much the podcast meant to these guys and myself, and as we left, yeah, you can't quit the podcast. We got to figure out some other way to schedule it and make it work for both of us. So
that's love right there.
So, yeah, for sure.
I will throw out there actually that watching other content creators is also very motivating.
Oh,
it
Before
is.
hiring, it is nice to listen to some minis or other podcasts.
Yep.
Watch other battle reports and say, kind of reminds you, like, that's why I do it. Like, this is fun. I do like this community, and like it is very nice. It kind of gives you motivation when you might not otherwise find it.
Or like Dave's been working out and putting it on there. I was like, man, I gotta get bigger.
Competitive streak and all.
I've been making up for him.
Yeah, so,
What was it?
whoa, dude.
How has it impacted your gaming time and your hobby?
You know, it's interesting you should say that, because I find for myself personally that my hobby has morphed into this really, like, my hobby is no longer playing Warhammer 40K. I feel like my hobby is doing things that enhance the hobby, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Like going to conventions and meeting you guys. This is one of my favorite things to do, is just talking to people and meeting you guys. Like, I love that. That's all part of the hobby. Or building studios at the new building, at the bunker. Like, that's so, it's a different kind of, it's like you paint an awesome mini, it's like, hey, check this out. Or made this awesome studio, check this out, right? Like, it's the same exact feeling, but it's just a different medium, right?
Have you signed up to play any events here?
I have not.
Right.
Right, because I came here to be with you guys and to do this, right? I play games daily, I play games at home, and that's what I do, and amongst the other things that I do. And so the hobby has become a whole bigger thing, and it's encompassed so many more people, and it's incredible. But the burnout question is interesting, because I find that I don't get burned out, and the reason why is because I'm constantly changing what I'm doing. And whatever I am doing, I am inspired by what I'm doing. So I put my full heart and soul into whatever I'm doing, whether it's making a film or making a bunker or doing a game or doing a new video series or doing a stop motion series that is just goofiness. It's all like what's our motto? We play and call it work, and it's better to ask these guys because like, do you feel like you play and call it work? Don't mean to put you on the spot.
Hi, everybody.
Because he has one. Okay, Quirk is a good example of this because his job is to make videos. That is his sole purpose. That's all he does.
That's all he
That's his sole purpose in life. So that's what I used to do. I used to just do what Quirk does. Now it's so much more than that. So, and it's thanks to you guys. It's incredible. So I do my best to try to give back in the forms that we give back.
Yeah, you know, jump off that. You know, we're nothing without you guys. To be honest, we make content, and you know it makes us better us for you guys. You know, that making all the content for everybody. You know, you want to be a better you. You want to be a better version of you because it comes through and everybody else recognizes it. You know, being as small as we are, it's surreal for all of us where we go to tournaments or something or even here and I'm walking and you hear, Jonathan. I was like, hey Jonathan, FNP Wargamers Jonathan. And they get excited and you're like, oh man, this is so weird. You know, like someone knows my name and they're excited, I get excited. So it makes you feel really good to actually get noticed, but it's still surreal, you know? And it's a good feeling. But to get burned out, I've been burned out where I got to a point where I was like, man, I am tired of spending 4 hours editing a video. TJ, I did a video. So we started splitting it a little bit where he started feeling the pain of editing a video because, you know, you do get burned out a little bit because it consumes a lot of time.
Do you mind if I interject? Miranda, how long does it take you to edit a battle report?
Once it's ready for the timeline, 6 hours. But from start of shooting to end, it's 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
Well, no. I'm talking about just editing. Filming takes about 4 to 5 hours. Editing is about 4 hours, and then don't even get me started about rendering because our computers aren't even meant to render these videos. When they get to 90%, it fails, and you're like, render again, please don't fail.
As far as the hobby, there's plenty of times where you gotta edit and get things done, but you'd really rather be painting.
Oh, yeah.
Or you know what I mean? There's times when you're like, I gotta get the video for tomorrow, but so I gotta do that, but I really want to paint this.
That's a good idea for a t-shirt. I'd rather be painting rather than painting. So, you know, I would say burnout's a thing. There's a rush with the interaction that comes from talking to people who enjoy what you create. When I see comments on an article thread that I've written where someone's like, wow, I want to read more of this person's word noises. You know, it's something that is very satisfying. But I mean, writing the article took a bunch of time, and then there's the editing and the proofing and the word limits and all of the things that are involved with that. And then also the interaction comes with the price of time too, because you want to give everybody attention who appreciates what you do. And so there are days where I look back and like, I answered 500 messages today. Like, I've never been busier in the bathroom in my life.
Well, I mean, that can mean two things.
You're doing it wrong then.
They say people can't multitask.
Deep striking a lot of demons there.
There's a point, and it's also been kind of positive because I decided, you know what, I'm getting all these notifications, I'm going to delete Facebook off my phone. I'll keep the messenger active, but I'm going to delete Facebook off my phone. And that actually has been very good for me because I only check it when I'm at a computer. I take 15 minutes, I catch up on the notifications, I respond to the people that need it, and it is definitely a process. And there are times where I just say, all right, I need a break. My own gaming has gone down quite a bit, and it's something that I'm trying to change because people tap me for events all the time. Right now I'm helping with 3 local GTs, a team tournament. I help with the Las Vegas Open. I do a lot of the document stuff for Frankie, trying to help them, and it takes up a lot of time. So I end up appreciating my game time that much more for it. So there's a little give and take with it, and it kind of goes through cycles. If I need to step back, I step back. I especially like to focus on my boy when I have my son. I've actually started getting him into the hobby because two birds with one stone. He's 7 years old. He painted his first dreadnought, and he punched an orc to the moon, and he was very excited about it. Being able to focus more on him instead of make sure that time is important. So there's a lot of balancing that comes into it, but it's so rewarding at the same time that as long as the stuff that you're delivering is quality and you're connecting with the people, you don't feel like your time's wasted.
And you're probably spending, because you're spending less time on the toilet, you're spending a lot less money on your hemorrhoid medication.
You went there.
That was a good joke. Excellent.
He's crying.
So I'll just talk about the hobby for me and how it's affected my hobby ability. So when I graduated college, I was having a hard time finding an IT job. So I did the thing, and I went in Houston. We were from Houston, so I went and started working for Games Workshop. And the one thing that taught me about the hobby is how much fun it is to get a new person into the hobby, and they're bright eyes, and they're just ready to play, and they're ready to learn. So for this part of the hobby, what it does for me is it gets me back to that fun that I used to have there. And so when we're at an event or something like that, or someone recognizes me, it's the ability to talk to them, and they know we both love 40K. We usually both love why we're there. And it's just fun, even though I may have no clue who they are, they've been watching me, I still get that interaction because I want to talk to you about the hobby that I love and enjoy. So it's just, for me, I think that's been the coolest thing. It's so much easier for me to connect with you. And I think that's one thing that I really enjoyed about the hobby and what it's done for my hobby. But at the same time, for painting and everything, that's what I do. I love to paint. It's my time away from my kids late at night so I can paint. So I usually don't get burned out on painting. These guys are always like, TJ, you paint way too much. But I'm like, yeah, I got it, man. There's always stuff to be painted and always stuff to get out there.
So when this went from just a game to something bigger for me, I had just started. I was still super new, and it is so stressful because I did the one thing everybody told me not to do: don't go buy entire armies worth of stuff. I think Adam specifically mentions this in a video, and I said, "Yeah, I got it."
That's other people.
Better than you, internet person.
So I have 3 fully awesome armies, thousands and thousands of points that I have to paint, and these guys are constantly hounding me like, dude, you need to paint something, And I life gets in the way, I make excuses, I'm doing other stuff, I'm working, and I've got so much going on, but without that stress, without that pressure of them saying, hey, paint something.
We need it for the channel.
Yeah,
It's that motivation.
But without any sort of pressure, like I'm useless. I'm going to sit on the couch all day. I can't get anything done. When I've got some sort of pressure, it makes me work harder. It makes me work well. And with the Burnout, like, dude, these guys smoked me every game for the first 20 games we played. And I mean, every Saturday, I'm at Jonathan's house, and we're filming all day long. My roommate's like, dude, you need to come out with us and hang out with us. Like, you can't do anything. I'm like, I had 4 days. And I was getting really burned out. Jonathan was smoking me every game, and I just could not win.
It was going easy.
And then I finally won. Don't tell me that right now. But I won 1 game, and like all of my passion started to come back. All that spark was reignited, and I was like, because I mean, I was studying how to make better combos. I was studying how to use my list better, how to deploy better, and it's made me a better player. I've learned so much, and I've worked so hard to learn as much as I have, and I still have a long way to go. But all that stress has been really nice in some ways.
One thing to add, what's changed it for the hobby wide is we film. So if we play a game, we're filming because we have to get on it. We have full lives, so if we're playing a game, it better be filmed. And matter of fact, right before LVO, we were doing our practice games and filming it up. And the weekend right before this weekend, so last week, we played 1 game. We didn't film. I forgot what it felt like. Yeah. I was like, this is fun. There's none of this. It's just,
Two hands for dice.
I got done in like 2.5 hours. The game was done, you know? So that's a little bit how it morphed the hobby, is like when you actually just go play a game to play it, you know, you're like, man, this is fun.
It did
So-
take 6 hours.
Yeah. So that's how it morphed it a little bit.
More hand, yeah, go right ahead.
Hi guys, nice to see you all.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
flew all the way from Norway to see you. So,
Oh, wow. Nice.
all right,
You have a
no
wonderful
question.
beard.
Yeah. See, I was dragged into this hobby about 3 years ago, and I started listening to you guys and watching your movies or films on YouTube and stuff. And I feel like the general sort of rhetoric around the hobby has changed. And I will do a quick fire question. So you only get to say one thing. What do you think has changed, if you agree with me, like during the last year or so, to make it a better place for us gamers to be?
New CEO for Games Workshop.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks.
More skirmish games out there?
Yeah, I would say honestly just new GW. It's rising tides raise all boats. So as more and more people get into that, and then eventually they're like, you know, I also like maybe bold action or do this or that. And so yeah.
I'd say interaction with audience, GW, they listen to the audience and they actually take their suggestions, which is huge.
I think 8th edition was massive because it made it a lot easier for people to join and a lot less daunting for them to come into our hobby. So we got a lot of new hobbyists, I think.
I'm gonna have to agree that new GW is a big reason for it.
Yeah, new GW, the fact that this is the first time since like, what was it, about 2005 that actually moved the story further along in this past year. There's actually reflux material, and I think that's actually helped out the hobby in general, is that we have Primarchs coming back and everything like that. It's just the new GW just moved the story along from where it was when we were stuck in this 13th Black Crusade that never happened.
I played in that campaign. I know it happened.
I know it did happen. Right on it.
For me, I'd say 8. When I started, right when I started, there was still 7. 8 was like a month or 2 away. And I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I'm rolling all these dice and they're telling me what to do. It was so complicated. And we started playing 8 and I got it right off the bat. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm brand new and I get what's going on. Like, other people wouldn't want to play 7 because it's really hard. And 8 is really simple. It's a lot of fun.
Got him into it.
Just to add in, 7th edition, it was almost like no way it was
Too
going
much.
to happen.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
as soon as
we
8
could
came out, he's just right into it.
Yeah.
We could never finish a game in 7th edition.
Me either.
Now,
Now I finished games.
the entry point for kids of his age,
For
the
sure.
8th edition is just
But I think too,
amazing.
just as a side note, I think too, a lot of times the criticisms I'll hear of 8 is it got dumbed down, and I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah.
I think it has different depth and different style than what it had before, and it's fun. I mean, it's just fun.
Making me roll the same die 3 times.
Yeah.
Not that.
No. Making it more complicated
Right,
just to
no.
be complicated doesn't.
Well, obviously, there is a strong bias in this panel. I agree with your statement. It's a golden age of miniature games. We don't all have to play Warhammer, guys.
Thank you.
He had a question. I saw his hand up.
You have a question?
I saw, unless I'm seeing things in the warp, he had his hand up.
Well, I saw 4 hands, and I know we've seen 3 hands so far, so there should be. Oh, that was a half. He half.
Mine was about Burnout. I actually had a question about the game 4. I downloaded it during your last thing. One of the biggest struggles I had today, even at a convention, I didn't have an event to do except for this. For today, I have events the next couple of days. I still found it very difficult to do a pickup game. I mean, it's easy at your shop. It's
Yeah,
not so easy when you're walking up to people
it's hard
who you
to
don't know their schedules and everything.
It's hard at conventions. Pickup games can be real tough. A lot of times, I think it's something that you end up at a convention. You end up touching base in some sort of app, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever you think, and then you kind of plan ahead, hopefully, so you get to Adepticon because I'm not gonna go to Adepticon to play, I'm gonna go to socialize and do the stuff I'm doing for the channel, but, well, I take it back, I'm not going to play in a tournament. I am bringing my army because there's a potential that I might find a 2.5-hour spot where I can play Age of Sigmar with somebody or something like that. With the Game 4 app, we are hoping to make, to look at conventions and be able to not only work with conventions so that they can put their events in there and you can use the app for that, but also, if you're there looking for a pickup game, it'd be able to really easy to be able to kind of do that stuff, so, yeah.
Do you think it's active enough that it would work for me right now?
Can you speak up a little? I don't think people
Oh
can
yeah,
hear you.
is it active enough right now? We just launched it back in, just like a couple days before Christmas. And so we've got about 12 or 1,300 people signed up already worldwide, but we haven't done any marketing. Like I mentioned it on the channel one time, and so that's helped. But we're going to be doing a lot more real soon. We get a couple of little bugs worked out and some things that we didn't want to have. If we didn't want to do a big push and say, hey everybody, and then have to fix bugs, we kind of want to soft launch it. But yeah, that's pretty much it's been good.
If you're looking for stuff to do, right after this panel, there will be a live show from Live Every Conversation. Does not look interesting whatsoever.
Let me tell you guys.
There could be some prizes.
These guys crack me up. Like they
Do you
these
validate
two,
parking?
these two do not get enough credit in the community for what they do, in all honesty, because while all of us talk about miniature wargaming, they sort of talk about miniature wargaming, but they do something different than everybody else, and I appreciate it just for that aspect
How
of it.
many models have you screwed up laughing?
Oh, dude.
I think there's at least probably a couple where I've been painting and then yeah.
No messing up, just happy accident.
That's character.
So if you, I would just say, if you haven't given it a try, give it a try. It may or may not be your cup of tea. Don't listen to them. You can listen to our show all you want. We're safe. But I look forward to every episode.
What do you think the first thing is going to do next?
Their show's called The Independent Character.
Carl and Jeff.
Which one's Jeff?
You don't think.
I don't think. Any more questions, or we can keep going to our list here? Somebody?
You waved, I think it's you.
No. Oh, she's just waving.
I was waving to her.
Okay, you want to do the enjoyable distance? This is pretty positive. So far, a lot of you guys have talked about the elements you really enjoy about what you do, but that's just too positive. That's too happy.
Oh,
We need to bring this down a bit.
Here it comes.
What are whether you're doing YouTube videos of different kinds or you're doing podcasts, what is the least favorable? What are you disliking the most when it comes to doing this? What you're doing?
If anything.
No. There's always one thing you don't like.
Okay.
I got some on us. We spend a lot of time editing, creating videos and content. We throw it up on YouTube for free. And, you get that dislike and nobody says anything, or you get negative comments. It's like, oh man, I'm sorry you didn't like my game that I posted for free for you. So we started learning to kill them with kindness. But yeah, getting the comments are a little bit of a drag, but you know what, like she said, you get thick skin, and you're like, you know what, kill them with kindness, be real nice to them, and then they'll change their tune, if they even reply back.
Yeah.
So.
When I first started the channel, I turned comments off because I've been watching other YouTube videos. It's not even Wargaming, but just general YouTube videos, and they're a dumpster fire. I don't need that, you know what I mean? So I just turned them off, and then I had people in the Wargamers Consortium going, yeah, you should really turn them on. There's really actually, like, our small little niche is actually pretty good. And for the most part, that's true. Like, I have, in 5 years, maybe had to block, like, 2 or 3 people in the comments for YouTube, which is sort of astounding. But yeah, I mean, the comments aren't bad, but every once in a while you get like something that can kind of, and the thing is you can't let it like bug you, but it bugs you.
Yeah. It's worse on on iTunes, because there's no way to reach out to that person and say, what didn't you like? Or what, there's no way to reach them. So.
We don't track down their IP address or whatever.
If you need a baseball bat, I can lend you a baseball bat.
I bet you, Adam, you could probably track down people's IP
I got
addresses.
sick while I was listening to it, so 1 star.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've been doing it almost 8 years now with very little show for it, so you get used to the negativity. You know? And in fact, then you start reading the negative comments on the show.
Or you have Carl read it.
Oh, you have to.
It's like mean tweets for podcasts.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, what about towards the production side, maybe, or?
For me, it takes me away from family. Sometimes a little too much. I get a little too. I feel a little guilty about it sometimes.
Editing you know, it's something you want to do because you want it to look nice, you want your stuff to work together and all that. But there's, like I said before, there's times when you're like, I really don't hate it. That's the live shows are great because you know, like the live show gets done, and then like I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes later, you get a 2-hour episode, and you didn't have to edit for nothing, and you're like, sweet. So that's why those are really actually kind of nice.
Yeah, editing's kind of an interesting thing because when you first learn editing, you're like, this is magic. Because it's really cool, the stuff you can put together. But when you're doing it constantly, you're like, I can't do anything. I can't listen to music when I'm editing. I can't listen to anything else. Like it takes all of my faculty and all of my focus, and you feel like it becomes kind of a drag after a while.
Even with painting, you can listen to something else,
Oh,
or
no,
watch something
painting
else.
is like piecemeal, and usually nice, depending on your standard. Great. But the other problem for me is I just have a horrible tendency to overcommit to too many projects, and so I overwhelm myself and get really stressed out because I'm not getting, you know, the 100 impossible things that I want done well done in time.
What do you hate, Dave?
Tau.
Tau. Right on.
He hates gardens.
Done.
No, I recall you saying on a video once that you love Tau.
I think there was a witch forcing me to say that. Fake news. Well, okay, not a witch, a voodoo witch.
You still have nightmares of those towns?
I think, okay, so at our stage of the game, it's like when we put a lot of resources into making a video series, a lot of times we do a lot of it before we start posting it, and then we post it, right? So a lot of it's made already. And so the thing that is disappointing, and I guess the thing that I would hate, is when it's not, huh?
Your employees.
You said it, I didn't disagree? What?
Oh, I'm getting fired.
Again, you said, no. It's when it's not as well received as you hope it to be. Because there's other times when we're just like look, here's a good example. Path to Glory. It's like, okay, there's no preparation needed. Oh, look at that. Here's the whole campaign system. Look at these models. Okay, we already have all the models. Okay, so yeah, let's start playing. And then it gets a whole lot of positive response. And then there's other campaigns that we've done where it's the exact opposite, where it's been weeks and weeks and weeks of planning and resources spent in terrain and models created, and it didn't get nearly the amount of response as something where no planning or no resources went into. So that's the one thing that's
chaos.
And I love it.
We definitely have time for another audience question.
I don't really have a question. It's more of a rating for like MiniWarGaming videos. I love you guys. I only give you a 1 because the average from Quark's Dice is right about a 1 with the amount of ones you roll in your videos. So I figured let's go with the average of dice rolls.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Downvote your comment.
Back to the comments though, if there's a lightsaber, right? So if it's 90% green and then the handle is red, so like the dislikes are red, then you're doing something right because you got your lightsaber. Because there's always going to be dislikes. If you're not getting any dislikes, then that's bad.
I was trying to figure out what the heck you were talking about.
No, right? Because like, it means that not enough people are seeing it for you to get dislikes, right?
The trick is that I've always read that actually likes or dislikes basically count the same, really. Because they're both engagement underneath YouTube's algorithm. So if someone was like, well, I don't like this, that's still engagement.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as YouTube is concerned, allegedly, they won't tell us, but that's what I think.
If you're making, go ahead.
Hence Bella Vessel's comments.
Yeah. If you're making content and you haven't received a single dislike, not a good thing. The first time you get a dislike, it means that you are big enough to be disliked.
The rest is bots.
Wait, that bar can be green. We have two right now. First up, you know what? You've already answered the question. You're going to be the next in line. I swear, yeah.
So this is mostly focused on the people that use YouTube. What do you think about the recent changes in YouTube's algorithms and how they affect how you actually reach out to people?
I've had one video out of 280 that was demonetized recently, and it was the title of it was "The Pitfalls of Stripping." And I guess I should have thought of it earlier, but I made it like 2.5 years ago, and all of a sudden one day I was just scrolling through and I saw a little yellow icon. I'm like, oh yeah, they probably thought I was talking stripping paint, actually. And so then I just did a thing and manually.
What was the thumbnail?
It was a picture of a clear plastic cup with purple fluid in it with a Space Marine floating in it, because I was stripping the paint off. That's it. So it just said the pitfalls of stripping, and that's. Now, I know it's struck a lot of other channels. I know that it's, because I pay attention to a lot of this dumb junk for work, but I know that it has a lot to do, like in my tags, I never put in war gaming. I always put in wargaming as one word, because the word war can sometimes trigger the algorithm. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there, and there's a lot of people who are making channels, or making the stuff that they want to make with a lot of swearing and whatever and things like that. And that's fine, but they have to understand, I guess, that the advertisers don't want to put their money behind that. So you kind of have to make that decision. I've always gone pretty clean just because I'm also trying to get new people into the hobby. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it'll come back around probably eventually once they get the algorithm a bit smarter, but.
No, the algorithm's horrible and dumb because as Adam said, oh, well, it's fine if you're not swearing. I don't have any swearing on my channel in every video I have to fight for monetization. So the algorithm just, I don't know how it's deciding stuff. It's wildly inconsistent.
We have the same issue.
Yeah.
We have to hit manual every time now. I'm like, because I put in Warhammer? Like, what's happening?
Well, I mean, I have a hypothesis on the idea. I mean, it's obviously that, to me, that YouTube has more videos getting uploaded per day than advertisers are paying in to, have themselves advertised. And so they're triaging. They're going to want to, funnel stuff toward bigger channels as much as possible. And so I can totally see the idea of putting the yellow mark of demonetization on to just triage how, slow and keep it back to answer.
It strikes the big channels too. Like recently, when the iPhone 10 came out, a bunch of big channels, 5, 6, 8, 10 million subscribers, all did reviews of the iPhone 10, and almost all of them across the board got demonetized, and no one knows why.
That's why you're dealing with Apple.
Exactly.
Every time someone says that, it's a strange thing. So a lot of these big channels had to go into it.
When they did that iPhone 10 thing, when they showed it off, my entire job site actually got forced to take a day off with no pay for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they told everybody to go home.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting keeping up with it.
Yeah. And it'll change again. Change every 6 months. Surprise you every time. Don't rely on AdSense revenue from YouTube. Less than
Don't
one.
pay your mortgage with it. You can't.
In 4 years, we've made 3 cents.
So my question would be, we've talked a lot about the negatives being just that, a negative, but Howard Stern once said that the people who hate me listen to me for 2 hours and the people who like me listen to me for 1. How valid do you think that is in the YouTube community that, yes, you might be having people trolling and saying bad things, but the reality of the situation is that person may have watched your entire battle report, whether they're negative or not.
I don't want to go down that road, frankly. I mean, because you're right, there are channels out there, and there's just news channels and anything, not just in wargaming, where they lead with the negative, they lead with clickbait, and they lead with trying to incite anger because they're like, well, it's going to bring more views. And yeah, maybe in the short term, but in the long term, I don't think it works out. I really don't. It's just, it's, the thing is that it may not work out well for you right now, but if you are good and doing your job and making people happy, 3 years down the road, someone might come to you and go, you know, I've been watching your videos and now I want you to come work for our game company or whatever. But if you were constantly like negative and incendiary and all that kind of stuff, that's not good. That's not gonna happen.
I think that goes with what you said earlier. When you start your channel, you make a decision. There's two roads. Am I going to curse a whole lot and be really loud, or am I going to make it where families and other stuff like that? We had game stores that told us they run our battle reports in their store on loop because we have no cursing, because they have kids that are customers, and like that made me feel good because we can pan out to a younger age, and you can say other words that aren't super potty mouth, so.
It's generally funny.
It is funny. But don't get me wrong, there's a couple that happen, and it's extraordinarily hard to edit it out. But, it's just for the most part, you want to, family friendly, right? So, and that's, again, if that's where you want to go. If you're like, no, I want to get all the hardcore gamers and say the F word 1,000 times, that's what you want to do. Yeah, exactly.
I think the reality is there's an audience for everything.
Exactly.
Right? And, the audience that listens to my show may not listen to Dave's show, may not listen to Adam's show, may not listen to your show. Or they may, and you have some cross-pollination, and you have some people that, they're focused on one particular aspect of the game or one particular aspect of their hobby, or whether it's painting or tournament play or whatever. There's something out there for everybody. And so generally when we get a negative comment or we get somebody who says, why don't you do this? And I say, there's already people doing that. You can go listen to them. Let me give you a suggestion. Like, if you want poop stories, go listen to Life After the Cover. So there's something out there for everybody, and that's the great thing about this hobby, as opposed to the 40K or miniature wargaming hobby, because this is a hobby for a lot of us. Some of us it's a job, but ultimately, there's an audience for everybody. And it's just about finding your audience and finding who will listen to you. Who enjoys your show?
And we've had discussions about this within the company, and I think it's very easily compared to the movie industry. So when you have like a movie that's rated G, like Frozen, for example, right? Like how much money did that movie make? Because anyone can see it. There's no restriction, right? Whereas you have a movie that's like, yeah, right? Where it's restricted. It's like basically you cut your audience by like 60%. By doing that, right? So it's, that's fine. It's for some people.
But I think even beyond
some people bring their kids to
even beyond that, though, you're also making a decision.
Repeat.
Like a movie like Frozen, there's kids that love that movie and they watch it hundreds of times and stuff like that. And so it can help them maybe get through hard times or whatever, you know what I mean? And so even just beyond the fact that, you'll get more viewership with a G movie because everybody can go see it, giving a positive message and trying to teach somebody something and that kind of thing, that can also be a big, I think, motivator to steer your content.
So one thing I'd like to tack on to that is one of the strange things about being a voice in the hobby is your power to influence other people without really realizing it. And the influence that when we decided we wanted to put out there was a good one, because there are definitely channels out there that just like to whip up a frenzy, and that's how they generate their views and their income, and is that more or less valid than another? I mean, it pays their bills, so good for them, But the kind of community that we create based on our positivity and accepting and being honest with ourselves about the negative feedback we get, and not letting that take us down. No one on the internet can say anything worse about me than my ex-wife has said. I'm
challenge accepted.
I'll remember that the next time I write 1,200 words of show notes for you.
All right, so we are getting right towards the end. So this is the last time for you guys to go down the road, do your plug. Where can people find you if they're not familiar with you? So go on ahead. You're Adam.
Yes. YouTube.com/Tabletop Minions is probably the best place. I have a website, tabletopminions.org, let's say. It has not been updated too frequently. But yeah, otherwise I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I've got the Tabletop Minions Paint Showcase Club on Facebook. People can post pictures of the stuff that they've painted, and other people can comment on it. And it's generally pretty cool people and civil, and I'm glad that I only once in a while have to kick off spammers and weirdos. Well, specific type of weirdo, whatever.
Thank you, Adam.
People who are mad about your video. For mine, it's just youtube.com/Wargamer Girl. That's pretty much where I upload everything.
TheIndependentCharacters.com, or any podcast app you can look up The Independent Characters. And also Facebook, we have a tremendous Facebook group that we started, how long ago, Don? 4 months ago?
Yeah, about 4 months.
Held off from it for a while, but it is absolutely a supportive and friendly. We get comments all the time, but it's super supportive, super friendly. It's a great place to share stuff. And if
The moderator's a jerk, though.
one of the moderators.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Yep, thank you.
MiniWarGaming.com. We're on YouTube. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. You can go to Instagram and Twitter as well.
Playgirl.
Definitely not. That's it. So it's mostly YouTube, because that's where we upload half of our content, and the other half is on our website, MiniWarGaming.com.
All right, thank you, Dave.
All right, so you know, you can go to FNPWargamers.com. We have a website. You can even challenge us there, where you can play us in the studio. We have a Facebook group as well as Facebook page. The Facebook group is FNP Wargamers Community. And then we also have Instagram, Twitter.
We cast a wide net.
Yeah, we do Twitch. We just moved into starting to do some Twitch stuff with like Pathfinder, live Pathfinder, which gets fun. So yeah, you should check us out. Also, before you guys leave, ton of swag right here.
Swagger.
So just come get it.
All right, thank you, Joe.
So Chris, Forge the Narrative is a podcast on iTunes. ForgeTheNarrative.net is our website, and then we have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ForgeTheNarrative. My Twitter handle is @sanguine_Morgan. I very infrequently update it, but that's more or less how you get a hold of us. Content, talk to us, and you'll see me around at LVO and Adepticon and all that. We're happy to talk to anybody.
All right, well, thank you to the panel here, and thank you to the audience.